This is the optimized desktop. Let's log on as Jeff. Now, this is an XP computer. It's a little different than a lot of XP computers you're used to because the traditional desktop is what you're used to. It has local data, it has local applications, and my operating system and my printers are kind of configured manually. But the optimized desktop is data as a service, applications as a service, and operating systems configured as a service. So here's my documents folder. We can see that it's been redirected. My documents data has been redirected yet synchronized with my local operating system. This gives me the ability to access my data from any PC. Now, applications as a service. We can see here that that Jeff, well, he's a member. This is Active Directory. Jeff is a member of the sales organization or the sales group and the managers group. Well, let's move over to application virtualization. Here's App V. Now here's Adobe. Now if we see that, look at the properties, we're going to enable Adobe to the sales group. We're going to enable Office 2003 again to the sales group. This could be line of business application 1. We're going to enable Office 2007 to the managers group because application virtualization does application to application isolation. Both of them can run on the same computer at the same time. Now this computer doesn't have any applications installed, but if we look at the properties of the programs folder, the next time that App V synchronizes with the server, it automatically deploys those applications to my computer, to Jeff. Not my computer, but to Jeff's user account. So here's Word 2007. We're going to launch this for the very first time. It takes about 10 seconds to make this application runnable for the very first time for a new user. Let's open up a document in my documents folder. So we could see under Windows XP, under an optimized desktop, we have data as a service and application deployment as a service because it's associated with my identity. Now, presentation virtualization is an application that will run on a remote desktop services computer. So it's server-based applications that are being presented to my computer. It gives me that operating system isolation between my OS and the application. With a new remote desktop protocol client, I have 3D capability running on my XP and greater machines. So this is another way we can get applications presented to a client as a service. Now, printers. The way I have been doing printer deployments for quite a while is I publish a printer to Active Directory. So the directory is the computer saying, well, where am I? And the directory says, you're in building 1 right now. And I say, well, find me printers that are in building 1 that I can print to with my credentials. And it says, okay, this is it. And I gave you the drivers and it got installed for you automatically. Well, that was kind of cool, but we'll show you something better. So the optimized desktop can assist in operating system migrations. Well, how? Well, first of all, let's change and get rid of the toolbar, the ribbon in my Office 2000 computer or Office 2007 application. We're going to see how that is affected when I go to a different operating system. So let's log off my Windows XP computer, and then let's log on to a Windows 7 computer. So here we are at Windows 7 computer. We're logged on as administrator, and as you can see, there's no programs installed on this computer. It's a very vanilla machine. And if we look at the advanced system settings, we can see that Jeff has never logged on to this computer before. Well, let's go ahead and log off administrator, and we'll log on as Jeff, and then we'll see how this computer has dynamically changed by the person who's logged on to this computer. So let's go ahead and hit Control-Delete, and we'll switch users and log on as Jeff. Now, I'm not using roaming profiles here. All I'm doing is data as a service through folder redirection, applications as a service with application virtualization, and presentation virtualization. So here's Jeff's brand new computer to him. The icon on the desktop followed me over from Windows XP to Windows 7. Let's take a look at the applications. Automatically, right away, Office 2003 is there, Office 2007 is there, and Adobe is also there because it came to me through application virtualization, through rapid deployment. My data is there because data has been presented to me as a service. It followed me from Windows XP to Windows 7. We're launching Office 2007, a virtual application for the very first time on this brand new computer to Jeff. Let's go down here to Windows 7 area. So, like we saw, we manage data as a service. We have enhanced synchronization and folder redirection with Windows 7. The toolbar personalization followed me from XP to Windows 7. Well, presentation virtualization still follows me over from Windows XP to Windows 7. And then Microsoft Enterprise Desktop Virtualization is for application compatibility. Well, there's two types of applications. There's possibly two types of applications. Let's take a look at a browser-based application. Here's MSN.com, which works just fine with the browser IE8. But let's say I go to a intranet site, or in this case, YouTube. Well, IE8 is going to say, no, that is an IE6 application, and it's going to launch IE6 from a virtualized instance of Windows XP that's running on this computer, but it's hidden to the end user. So I can launch a browser, or I can launch an application, like this Contoso order entry application. This application, I don't know that it's not installed on my machine, but this gives me time to remediate that application so that it can be compatible with Windows 7. But I get all of the benefits of Windows 7. But you know what? Sometimes applications crash. Sometimes an operating system might crash. So we have the ability to pick up those crashes. So I'm going to launch a bad application. So here we go. Here's my bad application. I'm going to generate an exception on this application. And as we can see, when I generated this, automatically it got picked up by IT, and it says they've opened a trouble ticket to help remediate this issue. Well, that was fantastic. So desktop error monitoring helped my application and operating system error management. Well, deploying printers, how is that different in an optimized desktop? Here is a group policy, but it's based off of a site. It says if you're in building 2, deploy that printer. Or if you're in building 1, deploy this printer. Well, let's enable this site group policy object. And then now let's take a look at my printers. This computer has no printers installed on it at all. But boom, the next time we synchronized my group policy, that printer was deployed automatically to my machine based on who I am and where I am. This is a great solution for a mobile worker or an information worker. Well, let's move on. Let's go to a thin client type of a computer. Let's log off my Windows 7 computer. Now, this is a thin client computer. We're going to log on as user, not log on as Jeff, but log on as user. And we can see this is running Windows Fundamentals for Legacy PC. We're going to launch an application in the security context of Jeff, not the security context of user. This is a remote desktop services application. You can see here I'm logged on in the security context of user, but the application is running from the server, giving me access to my data. So here's my optimized desktop document that we've been working on Windows XP, Windows 7, and now Windows Fundamentals for Legacy PC. I manage my data as a service with presentation virtualization. I manage my application deployment as a service with presentation virtualization. I can even run an application like Office Communicator on my thin client computer because it's server-based application. So look, oh, I got a message from Eduardo. Hey Jeff, no, hey Eduardo, how you doing? Well, I really don't want to talk to Eduardo right now. I'm in the middle of a demo. So goodbye, Eduardo. So printer. Now I can print to a local printer through terminal services, or I could say no, everyone in this area, I'm going to have the terminal server dictate who the printer deployment is going to go to. So this is a great solution for a task worker. Well, let's log off this application, because remember, we're just in an application. Sometimes we need more than an application. We need an entire desktop. So I'm going to launch a remote desktop connection into a terminal server farm. So let's log on as Jeff, and then here is my desktop. And now immediately this looks different. I have my optimized desktop document on my desktop. I have access to my applications. Office 2003 is there. Office 2007 is there. Adobe is there. I have access to my applications, and my data is there. The data followed me from XP to Windows 7 to WinFlip remote application to WinFlip remote desktop. This is the optimized desktop. This is a great solution. All of these are great solutions, but this solution is great for a task worker who runs just a few applications, and they need either just the applications or a desktop. Well, sometimes I need access to my applications from home. So here's my home computer. I'm going to log into WinVer right there. I'm at a Windows 7 Ultimate machine. This is me. This is me, and that's me. There's no programs on here. I haven't even installed any programs. I'm logged on as home user Jeff. My data is right there under my home user account, but I still need occasional access to corporate applications and data. There's my Canon inkjet printer. Well, how am I going to gain access to corporate applications and data? I'm going to go to a website. I'm going to go to a secure website. Now, this is not HTTPS. I didn't set it up for this particular scenario, but in a normal deployment it would be. So remember, I'm logged on as home user Jeff, but I'm going to connect back to my data center through demo Jeff. Okay, so I've logged on as demo Jeff, and that enables me to have access to my corporate applications and data. So here is, through remote desktop services, through secure internet protocols, I was able to launch Word as Contoso Jeff, not as home user Jeff. That gave me secure access to my data, secure access to my applications, and I can print to my local printer through this policy, because maybe it says, well, it's Jeff and he's coming in from his home machine. I'll let him print to that because Jeff's like a task worker. There's not a lot of intellectual property around that environment. But sometimes I need more than just an application. I need an entire desktop. Again, here's a terminal server desktop or remote desktop services. I have Office 2003, Office 2007. I have that icon on my desktop, and I have my data. My data is coming to me as a service. My applications are delivered and deployed to me as a service with rapid deployment, with AppV and PresV, presentation virtualization. There's my data. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's move my family vacation bitmap to my desktop. We'll see that a little bit later. Let's launch my document. This is the same document we worked under XP, Windows 7, Windows Fundamental for Legacy PC. I'm at home. I have secure access to operating systems, applications, and data. And yes, I can still print under this operating system to my local printer. Well, maybe I'm a developer or someone with higher security, and I need full control over this desktop. Terminal services or remote desktop services in a lockdown environment. So maybe I'm writing code. I need to reboot the computer. I need higher level of access. So I'm going to go to the Contoso VDI website. I'm going to log under the security context of Jeff and put in my password. And I can use a smart card, things like that. And it says, here's my desktop. It's going to say Jeff's logging in. We've prepared a desktop just for Jeff. I'm going to put in my username and password, or I could put in my smart card, and it's going to provision a computer just for me. Now, this is my VDI environment. Look at instantly, I have my family vacation bitmap that I just moved around on a different operating system. I have my access to my applications and my data. Let's go ahead and open up my documents and open up this document that we've been working on. my applications and my data has been following me from Windows XP to Windows 7 to Windows Fundamental for Legacy PC to Home. It's been following me because I've configured this as a service for Jeff. And securely access printers, well, in this instance, I don't want Jeff to be able to print to his home machine because maybe he's a developer, a contract worker working for me, and I don't want to lose that intellectual property. This is a great solution for emergency access and work from home and a contract worker. This is the optimized desktop. Access to my applications and my data, secure access to my applications and my data from any device, from anywhere. This is the optimized desktop. Thank you very much.